In my last video, I introduced an artificial intelligence system that I think we should be warned about. And I want to expand on that briefly today. For a couple of decades, I've helped dreamers around the world make sense of their dreams. And right now, I want to give you a heads up on what kind of prophetic dreams would warn us if we've been targeted by hell to be surveilled, when we're a person of interest to hell because we're considered a threat. Now, I'm not talking about being a threat in general, but about specific seasons in our lives when we pose an escalated threat. But let me back up here for a moment to get you up to speed on the artificial intelligence gathering source I'm referring to. Unlike the artificial intelligence everyone's talking about these days, this system has been around for ages. AI, of course, is like a brain stuffed with all the information it needs for its specialized application. It's trained to access it all so it can provide us pretty accurate results, whether it be technical algorithms, HTML codes, informational summaries, recomposing paragraphs, or whatnot. But as I stated in my initial post on this, the recent developers of AI weren't the first ones to be wise to artificial intelligence. I contend that another mastermind originated the innovation millenniums ago. And I'm calling it Abominable AI because abominable describes something wicked and vile. The Old Testament, of course, links the word abomination to things God particularly detests, to idolatry, impurity, immorality, things that are particularly despicable and a stench to God. This artificial intelligence, developed by Satan himself, consumes the entire content of our lives if we're of interest to the kingdom of darkness. With abominable AI, demons are on assignment to constantly surveil us, seeing what we're up to and what we're saying. Like the brain of artificial intelligence, and especially in critical seasons spiritually, malicious forces gather intelligence on us. And unfortunately, they're not short-handed. If you're not so sure about all this, look again at some relevant scripture. Genesis 3:1 and 1 John 5:19 highlight Satan's craftiness and authority. We know that we are children of God and that the whole world is under the control of the evil one. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord had made. And as for the devil's ability to surveil, you may remember that in Ephesians 2:2, he's called the prince of the power of the air. Notice the specific terminology. Prince, a high-level ruler, just one level lower than a king. Power. This prince holds great power over something. And that something is the air, as in airwaves, sound waves, what we say out loud. Satan and his army use their own artificial intelligence system to listen in on us. And we humans are real talkers, aren't we? Now to today's topic. What warning dreams look like when we've been targeted by hell to be surveilled. And I'll get right to it. In dreams, I'd say that demonic surveillance is most often depicted in prophetic dreams by creatures peering at us. You'll find them lingering for a while, just looking at you. Ever had a dream like that? If so, now you know what the dream was revealing. Okay, the number one creature you'll find watching you in these prophetic dreams? Birds. If you're being surveilled by AAI, you may see a bird just outside your window, staring in at you, and doing nothing else. The bird will just loiter there for a while. I've experienced this a number of times, and it feels a little creepy, like, hey, take a picture, it'll last longer. And notice, I mentioned that the bird may be outside. Typically, you'll be inside a structure of some sort, perhaps a home or an office or building, maybe even a car. And where you're located in the dream is important because it's a clue as to what situation or activity in life is of interest to the demonic. If it's a vehicle, you're involved in or heading up an activity that threatens Satan. If it's a building, the threat is connected to a situation of some sort. And notice that the bird will generally be outside, maybe perched at the windowsill. That means the demonic doesn't have either permission or a feasible military strategy for gaining entrance into this situation or activity. It's looking for a way in, a tactic to get you to slip up and give it legal grounds for entrance. Now, I've found these birds to oftentimes be especially colorful birds, and I'll clarify why in a second. But let me suggest first another creature that may be used by God to depict surveillance, satanic surveillance, in prophetic dreams. More than once, I've had night visions or dreams of a squirrel up close and personal, just standing there watching me. And again, what these creatures represent, the demonic, is attempting to perceive something about us as they linger observing it. And it may be a tactic. Maybe they have permission, but they don't have the tactic yet. And I just told you about the legal way in that they may be looking for, the spiritually legal path. Now, the squirrel and the colorful bird have something in common. They're both blinged out. The bird has his best costume on, many-colored bird so often, so as to look appealing and disguise his true identity. He masquerades as someone he's not, someone good. Both people and demons do that. They disguise themselves. When my mother lay in the hospital shortly before her death, she told me she had a vivid and disturbing vision of a man standing at the doorway dressed in purple and red sequins. He was dark, she said, and scary. Well, as it turned out, that was a prophetic depiction of my brother and the darkness on him in his grand plot to steal the inheritance from my other brother and I. Purple, by the way, speaks of authority. And wouldn't you know it, my folks had been duped into making him the executor of the will, the authority. And red can speak of war. And oh, was there war. I don't know if you yourself have ever encountered these human imposters in life, but they usually go all out to convince their prey that they're heroes rather than villains, and go overboard to do that, exaggerating, if you will. And the squirrel, you could say that as a creature, he's gone overboard as well. And I love squirrels. They're the focus of my family crest, and they're really quite exceptional creatures. Shrewd, persistent, tenacious. But did you know that squirrels are just flashy rodents? Their scientific classification places them in the Rodentia order. That beautiful tail, their rich brown color, their magnificent grace and agility, and their uncanny cleverness and determination. Camouflage the undignified species they belong to. Now, rodents in dreams generally symbolize the demonic. One reason is that they scamper about feeding on garbage. Not truth, the opposite of truth. Rubbish. Okay, a third creature in prophetic dreams that symbolizes demons surveilling us, and the last one I'll mention, is more straightforward. Those dreams of bad guys outside your home, watching and waiting to make their move or break in, those bad guys are demons. There might be one, or there might be a whole horde. Now, if you dream of an actual surveillance device, you're probably being informed that an actual person is overhearing, eavesdropping, or spying. And that's an entirely different heads up. A heads up about a human hearing what you're saying. Maybe your neighbor can hear through thin walls. Or in extreme cases, you're being bugged. This would, of course, have to be dealt with in an earthly rather than spiritual way. At the end of the day, though, what do we do with dreams of birds, squirrels, bad guys, and the like in prophetic dreams, taking their time checking us out? Well, that's our cue to make certain we have not and will not give them any legal grounds, in the spiritual sense, to attack. Here's where we examine our lives for purity in action, thought, and word, because purity is a powerful spiritual weapon. Doing so compels the "no weapon formed against me will prosper" promise to be enforced by God. These creatures surveilling us in dreams by Satan's abominable AI system warn us that if we're honest, open, and contrite, we can defeat the enemy before he gets a foothold. Well, I hope you find this info strategic. I wish I'd fully understood these warning dreams when I first started experiencing them. So keep your eye out, no pun intended, for these, and be better off for it. Till next time, stay pure. It's worth it. Be blessed and live beyond your wildest dreams.